Have you ever pondered what led to the abolition of slavery in the United States? It's a complex narrative filled with courage, conflict, and a burning desire for freedom. Let's rewind the clock to the early 19th century. Slavery was a deeply entrenched institution, particularly in the southern states where it formed the backbone of the economy. Yet even amidst this grim reality, a glimmer of hope emerged: the abolitionist movement. This was a collective endeavor, spearheaded by courageous men and women, both black and white, who passionately believed in the inherent dignity of all human beings. They used every tool at their disposal, newspapers, pamphlets, speeches, and petitions, to expose the moral bankruptcy of slavery and to rally public opinion against it. Parallel to this, another powerful force was at work: the Underground Railroad. This was not a physical railroad, but a network of secret routes and safe houses, painstakingly established by abolitionists and former slaves. It was through this network that thousands of enslaved individuals made their perilous journey from bondage in the South to freedom in the North and Canada. Yet, as the abolitionist movement gained momentum, so did the tensions between the North and South. The North, with its rapidly industrializing economy, was moving away from slavery. The South, on the other hand, was increasingly defensive of its peculiar institution. Each new state that joined the Union became a battleground for this ideological conflict, further straining the bonds that held the nation together. The issue of slavery became a political hot potato, with the Compromise of 1820 and the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854 only serving as temporary band-aids. The Dred Scott decision of 1857, which ruled that slaves were property and not citizens, only threw more fuel on the already raging fire. As the divide between the North and South deepened, the country was on the brink of a monumental conflict. The stage was set for a clash that would redefine the nation and its values, but that, dear listeners, is a tale for another time. The tensions reached a breaking point, and in 1861, the Civil War erupted. The war was a cataclysmic clash between the northern and southern states, a fiery crucible where the fate of millions of enslaved individuals was to be decided. At the heart of this conflict, the divisive issue of slavery took center stage. The southern states, also known as the Confederacy, were heavily reliant on slavery for their economy. It was the backbone of their agricultural industry, powering the production of cash crops like cotton and tobacco. The northern states, known as the Union on the other hand, were moving towards industrialization, and increasingly viewed slavery as not only morally reprehensible but also an outdated economic system. In the midst of this turbulent conflict, a key event unfurled in 1862. President Abraham Lincoln, a beacon of hope for the Union, issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This groundbreaking decree declared that all enslaved individuals in the Confederate-held territories shall be then, thenceforward, and forever free. It was a daring move, a bold stroke of Lincoln's pen that aimed to strike at the very heart of the Confederacy's power. But the proclamation was not just a strategic maneuver. It was a moral stand, a clear message that the Union was fighting not only for the preservation of the nation, but also for the principle of human freedom. It galvanized the Union forces, gave the war a higher purpose, and attracted international support. However, the Emancipation Proclamation had its limitations. It only applied to territories under Confederate control, meaning it didn't immediately free any of the enslaved individuals. Moreover, it didn't end slavery in the Union's border states. Despite this, the proclamation was a crucial step towards the abolition of slavery, a beacon of hope for those yearning for freedom. Despite the Emancipation Proclamation, the war raged on, and the fate of slavery was far from decided. The Civil War was more than just a battle of bullets and bayonets. It was a struggle for the soul of a nation, a fight to determine whether the land of the free would live up to its name. In 1865, the Civil War ended, but what did it mean for the enslaved? This pivotal year in American history marked not only the conclusion of a bitterly fought war, but also the dawn of a new era. The Civil War, a conflict born from the profound disagreement over the institution of slavery, finally came to a close. The North, or the Union, emerged victorious, and with their victory came a significant change. It was during this time that the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution was introduced. This amendment was more than just a piece of legislation. It was a beacon of hope, a promise of freedom. It read, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States, or any place subject to their jurisdiction. This legislation, ratified on December 6, 1865, officially abolished slavery within the United States. It was a monumental achievement, a testament to the countless struggles and sacrifices of those who had fought arduously for this cause. The 13th Amendment represented a significant milestone in the long and arduous journey towards equality and freedom in America. But this was not the end of the story. The abolition of slavery did not instantly eradicate the deep-seated prejudices and inequalities that had been so intrinsically woven into the fabric of American society. It would take many more years of struggle and protest for the promise of the 13th Amendment to be fully realized. Moreover, the end of the Civil War and the abolition of slavery brought about a new set of challenges. The southern states, devastated by war and the loss of their workforce, had to find a way to rebuild. The freed slaves, meanwhile, faced the daunting task of carving out a place for themselves in a society that had long denied them their basic rights and freedoms. With the 13th Amendment, slavery was abolished, but the struggle for equality was far from over. The abolition of slavery marked a new chapter in American history, but what did it mean for the formerly enslaved? With the chains of bondage broken, millions of African Americans faced an uncertain future in a country still grappling with deep-seated racial prejudices. In the immediate aftermath of abolition, the Reconstruction era began, a period from 1865 to 1877, marked by significant political and social changes. Newly freed African Americans were granted citizenship and the right to vote. However, these strides towards equality were met with fierce resistance. Many southern states enacted black codes, laws designed to restrict the freedoms of African Americans and ensure a cheap labor force. This was a stark reminder that the end of slavery did not automatically mean the end of racial discrimination. The long-term impacts of slavery on African Americans cannot be overstated. For generations, African Americans had been denied access to education, property ownership, and the ability to accumulate wealth. The legacy of this systemic oppression can still be seen today in the racial disparities across various sectors in American society, including education, wealth, and criminal justice. Despite these challenges, the abolition of slavery also paved the way for African Americans to shape their own destiny. They strove to establish schools, own land, and participate in the political process. Over time, they would make significant contributions to the American tapestry, enriching it with their culture, resilience, and spirit. Some of the most inspirational figures in American history emerged from this era. Individuals like Booker T. Washington and Frederick Douglass, who became influential voices for racial equality. Their tireless efforts, along with countless others, would lay the groundwork for the civil rights movement of the mid-20th century. The abolition of slavery was a significant milestone, but it was just the beginning of a long journey towards equality. A journey that continues even today as we strive to confront and rectify the lasting scars of this dark chapter in American history. Looking back, how has the abolition of slavery shaped the United States? As we trace the contours of history, the abolition of slavery emerges as a transformative event that forever altered the American landscape. The ripple effects of this monumental decision can still be felt today, resonating through every facet of society and culture. We've journeyed through the prelude to abolition, witnessing the growing tensions that led to the Civil War. We've seen how the war itself, a brutal and bloody conflict, ultimately set the stage for the end of slavery. We've explored the immediate aftermath of abolition, a time of reconstruction and redefinition, as America grappled with its new identity. The abolition of slavery was not just a legal decree, it was a radical shift that uprooted deeply entrenched societal norms. It was a loud declaration that all people, regardless of the color of their skin, were entitled to the same rights and freedoms. This was indeed a revolutionary concept for its time, and one that continues to shape and inform our understanding of human rights today. The abolition of slavery has left an indelible mark on American society and culture. It has shaped the nation's collective consciousness and fueled the ongoing struggle for equality and justice. The civil rights movement of the mid-20th century, the Black Lives Matter movement today, these are all echoes of that initial battle for freedom fought over a century and a half ago. However, the journey towards equality is far from over. Systemic racism, social injustice, and economic disparity continue to persist, reminding us that the legacy of slavery is still very much a part of our present. The abolition of slavery was a significant step forward, But it was just that. A step. The road to true equality is long and fraught with challenges. While we remember the abolition of slavery as a pivotal moment in history, let's not forget the long, ongoing journey towards equality that it represents.